I used to think heartbreak was one big event with a sad soundtrack. Turns out it can be a series of tiny choices that add up to an empty apartment and a grocery store aisle where you finally understand what you've lost.
I'm Camila.
Then 21, now 26. First-gen Mexican-American, communications major, professional people-pleaser. Back in senior year, I dated Marco. He was 2 years older, worked nights at a logistics company, and was the kind of steady you mistake for boring until you're drowning without it. He cooked on Sundays, made my car actually have oil changes, and texted home whenever I walked alone after a night class. It wasn't a command. It was a ritual. I'd reply home, he'd reply sleep well, and the world would shrink back to a size I could hold. My friends called it monitoring. Girl, if he needs a timestamp, he's insecure, Bree would say over wine and complaints about professors who still used overhead projectors. This is your fun era. You need to experience more than one guy. There were 5 of us. Me, always early. Bree, detonator. Tasha, therapist without a license. Naomi, quiet until she wasn't. And Jess, who collected men like festival wristbands. They loved me. They also loved a story. It started small. We were getting ready for a formal when Jess read a text over my shoulder. Have a great time.
Call if you need me.
Don't forget to Uber, not random rides. She rolled her eyes like a stage direction. He's your dad. He worries, I said like defense was a love language. That night I danced, I drank, I left my phone in my clutch. At 1:17 a.m., I had 3 missed calls from Marco and a text. At your place. Knocked. Are you okay? I had fallen asleep in Tasha's room with my shoes on like a casualty. When I woke, there was a protectively dramatic paragraph in the group chat. Cam's man just showed up to the apartment unannounced. Triangular flag, triangular flag, triangular flag. By morning, the narrative had been built without me. That's control, Bree declared, handing me coffee like a gavel. He could have texted and waited. He did, I said, small. 3 times. Then he should have kept waiting, she said. He doesn't get to show up like a parole officer. When Marco came by with breakfast tacos and an apology for overreacting, I said I needed space. Not because I decided that. Because 5 nodding heads made the decision eatable. He took a breath with measurements. Okay, he said. Take space. But I want to be clear. If you need me, I'll come. That's not control. That's care. If you don't want that, say that. I said nothing, which, it turns out, is also an answer. Spring was midterms, job applications, and 100 small tests of loyalty with my friends as proctors. Marco would ask to see me on a Friday. The group would plan a last-minute girls' trip. If I picked him, I was whipped. If I picked them, I was choosing myself. It is wild how quickly your values can be renamed when you're outnumbered. The event that broke us wore cheap perfume and a campus hoodie. There was a party at a townhouse near the stadium. I told Marco I'd swing by early and duck out before it got ugly. He said, text me when you're home. Routine. At 10:40 p.m., a guy named Ethan stumbled into the kitchen and told a story with my name in it. Cam, he slurred. Didn't you used to hook up with Nate? He still talks about you. I did not used to hook up with Nate. We had kissed once standing by a washing machine during sophomore year and talked about transferring. My mouth said no, but the room's oxygen had already been used to fuel whispers headed elsewhere. By midnight, I had 3 separate concerned DMs from classmates I barely knew. Are you okay? Heard your boyfriend is blowing you up. The group chat lit up with screenshots of our text thread, cropped, convenient. In theirs, Marco looked like a paragraph factory with red exclamation marks. Where are you? Over and over. In mine, there were 2 messages. Text me when you leave and home. I asked Bree how his tone changed in the screenshots. She shrugged like truth is a jacket you can flip inside out. He sent other ones. Tasha saw. Tasha's eyes were suddenly busy with a fake eyelash. Naomi swallowed. Jess scrolled harder. It took me 1 warm can of seltzer and a bad song to decide I was a victim in need of a declaration. I called Marco in the driveway, tiny bravery amplified by an audience on the porch. You make me feel trapped, I said into the humid dark. My friends say you're controlling. You interrogate me, you show up, you try to manage my time. I'm done. Don't come over. Don't call. He didn't perform the defense I wanted. He said, very quietly, Camila, I asked for a text when you got home because you live by the alley with the busted lamp. The night I showed up, I knocked because you said your roommate's ex had a key, and I got scared. I never told you not to go out. I asked you to be safe. If that feels like control, then we want different things. I wanted him to beg, so I could glow. He didn't. He repeated, we want different things. Then he added a sentence I didn't understand until much later. I'm not going to compete with the group chat. We broke up on the phone while 4 girls watched me draw lines in the air and mistook them for boundaries. Bree hugged me like a victory. Jess crafted a celebratory caption about choosing herself. I pretended not to see. For months after, I made little alters to my decision. Playlists about freedom, photos of patio drinks, a tattoo I still turn my wrist to read. When I was lonely, I cuddled with my friend's certainty. They fed me with remember when he stories until the man I had loved became a cartoon. Then graduation happened, and the group started fraying. Bree moved to LA to chase a job she said was a vibe. Jess got engaged to a man she swore was temporary. Naomi took a grad program 2 states away. Tasha stayed, started an Instagram for her rescue pit, and smoked clove cigarettes like a soft rebellion. I got a junior job at a media company and learned how to schedule posts for people who think posting is the job. 2 years later, Tasha called me sobbing. Bree sent me messages, she said between hiccups. From back then, the night of the party. We were drunk. She edited screenshots. Edited what? Marco's texts, she whispered, as if the truth was shy. He didn't blow you up. He sent 2. She added the rest with an app. She thought she was protecting you from choosing him over us. She thought he was slowing you down. Cam, I'm so sorry. I sat on the floor in my new apartment with a plant I was trying to not kill and listened to something break that had been cracked for years. I found the old thread. I checked the timestamps. The 2 messages were there, patient. The frantic ones weren't. Why would she do that? I asked because questions are the only thing you have when the answer is because she could. She didn't want to lose you, Tasha said. None of us did. We were afraid you'd move in with him and disappear. We made him the problem. I texted Bree a message that began with why and ended with a screenshot. She replied with a dissertation about intentions and feminism and something about care labor. There was no apology in the paragraphs. Just a shrug written in graduate seminar words. I blocked her and felt like I had swallowed a battery. I wrote Marco an apology I didn't send. It felt like taping a picture over a wrecked wall. Time made us older without asking permission. I date shopped the way you scroll for a couch you can't afford. Commitment with free shipping. I met nice men who didn't know me except for my high laugh and the way I make even tacos need a plate. I turned down a proposal that looked like a checklist. I put my phone face down more. I texted home to my little sister when she walked back from the bus like a prayer. The day everything sharpened was a Thursday with a grocery list. The store was too bright, the music too cheerful. I turned into the cereal aisle and stopped so hard a cart bumped me. He was there.
Marco.
5 years forward. Same careful shoulders, softer face. And her, a woman with hair in a loose bun and eyes that made you feel like someone looked up your weather for you. A toddler in the cart making a drumline out of the Cheerios. Marco held a baby carrier with one arm and read a label aloud in Spanish because the little one smiled at the vowels. He looked content in a way that doesn't photograph. I thought I'd hide. I thought I'd run. I walked. Hi, I said, and somehow didn't cry or mess up his name with nostalgia. He looked at me, surprised then open. Camila, he said like a fact. I owe you an apology, I said, like a nicer fact. I chose a chorus over you. I let people narrate you into a villain because it made my choices easier.
I'm sorry.
He nodded. He looked a quarter inch away, as if doing the math on forgiveness publicly.
Thank you, he said.
Then he added, because he is who he is, are you okay? The woman, his wife, I guessed, and later confirmed, offered me the kindest out I've ever been handed. We were just arguing over blueberry versus plain waffles, she said, smiling. If you're an expert, weigh in. We laughed for 10 seconds that took 5 years of weight off my lungs. I picked blueberry. The toddler clapped like he understood closure. We didn't trade numbers. We didn't promise coffee. He didn't say we could have been. He said, take care, Cam. I said, you too. The baby yawned like punctuation. I turned my cart and cried in the freezer section between peas and promises. On the walk home, I blocked and deleted the group chat I clung to like a raft. I called Naomi and apologized for letting Bree run the script. She said, we were kids with loud microphones. I texted Tasha a heart. She sent back a photo of her dog in a sweater. Months later, I ran into Jess at a wedding. She admitted she'd always been jealous of how calm Marco made me, of how unchanged I was when the room wanted to rename me. We thought we were saving you from settling, she said, stirring a gin and tonic with her finger. Turns out we saved you from stability.
She meant it.
I had learned how to hear that. I don't date like a politician anymore. I left a dinner last week when someone said, my boys told me to watch out for clingy girls because I could feel Bree's voice in his mouth. I learned to ask 2 questions before I take anyone's narrative. What do you lose if I choose differently? What do you gain if I don't? It works for men. It works for friends. It works on me. I text home. To people I love. I accept no, I'm not telling you as a sentence. I practice the kind of care that isn't camouflage for control and the kind of boundaries that aren't sold as bravery while secretly being fear. Every now and then I pass that grocery store. The freezer lights flick on regardless of whether anyone needs a bag of peas. I picture him there, buying waffles, and I hope he picks blueberry because it made his kid clap. I don't imagine him with me. I imagine me with the person who sees my home and replies, already tucked in. What they don't tell you about losing the good guy is that you don't get punished. You get sentenced to figure out why you needed a jury in the first place.
I used to need a group chat to decide my lines.
Now I write them myself. Sometimes they're wobbly. They're still mine. My remarks. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. Well, she let the group chat write her relationship and called care control because it was easier than setting her own boundaries. He didn't argue with a chorus. He bowed out, built a life, and kept his peace. That's the lesson. Pick partners who protect you, not audiences who perform for you. If you like grounded stories where standards, not shouting, decide the ending, subscribe. See you tomorrow.